feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Day More NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, coming at you Wednesday afternoon. It's September 24th. And on today's episode, I'm going to be joined here by Chris Hine to do an episode we've done before training camp for years now. We are going to talk about the things we most want to learn at Wolves Media Day, which is next Monday, September 29th. For us in the Media Day, and really the whole sort of first week of training camp gives us a lot of access to the team. It's not only our first time interviewing the coaches and players in a while, it's also the most access we get to the team in a condensed period of time, kind of all season. It's the best time to get questions answered, so it's important to have good questions, and that is what Chris and I are going to do today. Try to come up with some good questions to ask next week at Media Day. If you're just getting back to the pod, this episode continues our 5-episode week of training camp previews. Chris rounds out the beat writer portion of these previews. John Krasinski from The Athletic joined 2 episodes ago, and Jace Frederick from the St. Paul Pioneer Press joined me yesterday. So Chris today. Then starting Thursday, we are going to round out the week after the beat writers with Britt Robson and Kyle Teige. Britt just did a massive Q&A with Chris Finch that I'm sure we will reference a bunch on today's episode. You can find it on MinPost. Britt will join me Thursday afternoon to begin digging into that and some of the things Finch said. That's one of my favorite episodes of the season. And then finally, on Friday, Kyle will join me to round out the week and do one final pod before Media Day. That's the plan this week. Glad to be back. Glad to have you all back. Coming up next, questions we're trying to get answered at Media Day with Wolves beat writer Chris Hine. Let's go. Today's show is brought to you by Falling Knife Brewing Company. And for the last 3 or 4 years, Falling Knife has hosted what they call Wolves Fest. And it will be happening again this October 18th, the Saturday before the season kicks off, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. There's always a bunch of Wolves-themed pop-ups at Wolves Fest. And like I've been mentioning, the Naz Reid tattoo guy, the Naz Reid tat? Pack Tats, they will be there doing a tattoo pop-up. So if you're trying to get a Naz Reid tat, Wolves Fest. Overall, it's always a blast. It's going to be a blast. Spending time with Britt and Kyle, the Falling Knife guys, and all of you. We're going to have our new pod-themed beer on tap, Second Apron, year 2. Britt, Kyle, and I will do a pod together outside is the plan, weather permitting. That pod's going to be at 5 p.m. We'll keep reminding you about it, but mark your calendars for Wolves Fest at Falling Knife this year, October 18th, 3 to 9 p.m., pod at 5 p.m. And also get over to Falling Knife for a Lynx playoff game. It's the best place to watch the Wolves or Lynx with other Wolves or Lynx fans. That's Falling Knife Brewing Company in Northeast Minneapolis.
Hey, yeah.
All right, we are now joined by Chris Hine. Chris, I believe this will be your 8th Media Day as the Wolves beat writer for the Star Tribune. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. And one of the less chaotic ones.
That was how I was going to start. You always got to start a podcast with some sort of, something. I was going to say, what was your most memorable Wolves Media Day?
That there were many.
I have a list.
Let's see. My first one was just all the Jimmy weirdness that was my first year on the beat. So
2018 Media Day, Jimmy Butler doesn't really show up. I wrote down.
Correct. The man of the hour was not there that day. It's like every other one is memorable. Like every year there's something that happens, and the next year is kind of calm, and then something happens.
Yeah.
So like there was that, and then there was the time we had Media Day right after Gerson got fired. That was also, I
didn't even put that in my
list. That remember that happened right before Media Day too. Obviously last year was a little weird because the trade had just happened like 3 days earlier. Ant's homophobic video came out like 2 weeks before Media Day.
First time.
So that was sufficiently.
That one was crazy because that
awkward.
was Rudy's. They just got Rudy.
They just got Rudy too. Yeah. So that was that Media Day. So that's what I mean. Like kind of every other one, every year, every 3 years, you get an awkward Media Day. This one is not going to be an awkward one.
Yeah, it's straightforward, right? Like it
straightforward.
feels like what we're doing today is we're putting together questions that we want to get answered at Media Day. And I was thinking about while I was putting mine together, it just felt like stuff I would put together for a mid-November podcast, just like basketball stuff. There isn't really any sort of, I don't know, like crazy big picture personality it's continuity. It's largely the same roster. And it's about that roster from last season getting better than it was a year ago. You know, it's pretty much a little bit of replace Nikhil, some of those sort of things, but there isn't the, okay, Jimmy Butler isn't going to be here. Oh, Rudy Gobert is here. Carl isn't here. You know, there's been a huge roster change at so many of these. And I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be pretty straightforward, but interesting too.
It's going to be very basketball-y.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like mid-November podcast.
We're going to get into the nitty-gritty, I think, of, okay, so how are you going to get out and transition more? What's the defense exactly going to look like? Like it's going to be just very basketball focused.
Hell yeah.
Which, yes, for the diehards out there, they'll love that.
What did you put down for your first question?
So my first question, I actually adjusted my first question based off of you and Jace the other day talking about some things. And it kind of coincided with something Finch said in the article that Britt did with him. And it relates to what is kind of just the general plan for Rudy off the floor this year. Minute delegation, styles of play. And so when I hear Finch and when I read Finch's comments in Britt's article say about how we have to get the second unit defense, which is essentially the non-Rudy defense, better. And I think about the way that they had to play in the playoffs.
Is the second unit.
Is he laying the groundwork for like more times during the regular season when they're going to be, or more extended times when they may have to play without Rudy, or like just lineups that are going to be without him? I'm wondering that in my head, because maybe in the playoffs, maybe they have to be a little more ready to go to those alignments and those lineups, and they have to be better defensively. They can't just be making like an offense for defense trade-off. Right. Like they have to be like solid on defense when Rudy's not on the floor.
You're asking or framing in a way of like, you are talking about the playoffs there.
Yes, I am. Yes.
And Finch's answer is the second unit defense. And it's like, okay, during the regular season, that's what he looks like. Which he defined as the non-Rudy defense. When Rudy's off the floor, what does our defense look like? That's what he meant by second unit defense. Yeah, and I get what you are saying, and I thought Jace had good points on that last year. Like, can you play two different ways? Right. Can you have Rudy has a role during the regular season, Rudy has a role during the playoffs? Yeah, that seems convoluted. I get that. I do think some of that Finch quote, I do just take at face value of like, Rudy's 33 years old.
Yeah.
He'd probably play about 33 minutes a night, 15 to 18 minutes a night that he's not going to be playing. And that defense does need to be better too. Even if you are Rudy's defensive player of the year again, and everything Rudy like is solved, those 15 minutes a night over 82 games, that's 1,000 minutes a year, right?
Yep.
More than that of needing defense on the floor. I think it's Finch's way of being like, okay, I know we've lost some defensive pieces over the course of time, but we are not going to let ourselves get away from being a defense identity first team. I don't want Rudy to be off the floor and all of a sudden toggle, right? And now we're an offensive team and we just run and it's, 6 minutes of the equivalent of 125 to 125, I think what Finch is saying is, so long as we have Rudy Gobert on this team, defense is going to be a priority. And even when Rudy is off the floor, it has to be a priority, because that has just been a problem with this team for a while, is just being different things with different groups of players on the floor. And I know Rudy is an all defense, minimal offense sort of guy, and you get that polarization, but I took it more so as how do we balance this a little bit better? Because the defense wasn't as good.
And that's fair. And thinking about it too, I mean, Rudy is just generally prone to miss time during the regular season. We saw him with the back issue.
70 plus games though every year he's been here.
That's true. That is
but he's
true.
gonna miss. He's gonna miss
some time. Yeah. And you don't want to go through a swoon defensively if he has to miss 2-3 weeks or whatever it is. So I see that. I just think I'm thinking big picture. I'm thinking long term when it comes to just what they look like against Oklahoma City. How do you combat that? And just being more flexible, being just more solid when he's not on the floor defensively, that things just don't collapse, because yeah, offense was so bogged down at times with him on the floor in that series, and that's not to say it was all on him. I mean, everybody was pretty terrible in that series. So I just think to give them more optionality and more styles, and if you want to play a little more maybe up tempo, I thought that was an interesting point that he had in the article. So,
it was one of my five too.
And just generally, as Rudy gets older, they may just want to try to watch his minutes. We know that big men tend to decline faster as they get older. So, maybe just managing his workload a little bit, not having him play 38, 40 minutes like he was doing late in the season in some of those games is maybe another thing that is on Finch's mind. Not having him reach the high 30s and keeping him in the low 30s every night. Like maybe that's part of it as well. So,
and I know I did the devil's advocate thing too, but like there is a very real possibility that the Wolves' first round playoff opponent again goes from game one in the series. Nope, we're going small.
Yep, exactly.
And we're not even going to play Jackson Hayes. We're just who knows what that opponent is, but most teams have that gear.
Right.
That they can go to. And there is a huge track record against Rudy and in Utah too, of teams going smaller in that way. And they need to, I think, as always, I think that's a little bit more about offense than it is defense. I think Rudy can guard a team, can be on the floor defensively, easily a team with the tallest guy, 6'7" out there. What can he do offensively? So general plan for Rudy. I think that is our question of the non-defensive or the non-Rudy minutes defensively, but also just what is that? That's what I had, was just what is the incorporation on offense? What are you aiming for with Rudy offensively for his role to be?
I guess what is an ideal, almost like what does an ideal regular season maybe look like for Rudy this year?
Sure.
And especially, and that's also offensively too. We heard at the end of last season, Finch was saying they have to get Rudy more activated offensively.
I think that is the basketball question of the Rudy stuff. It's like literally, where is he positioned on offense? Is he, you go back to his first year, is a lot of posting up,
right?
Other years, there was a lot of involvement in pick and roll. He's up there. There's other times I kind of use him in the slot. He would like off screen ball away. And then last
short roll more last year.
But he just, I would say last season, when I picture a Timberwolves offensive possession, Rudy's in the dunker spot.
Yeah.
And he's just last season. That was where he migrated there more often. And he's a weapon from there, but he needs to be weaponized. And that was, obviously the Toronto example. That's that same thing where Rudy sitting in the dunker spot. I'm here in front of the rim. Are you going to give me the ball or not? It's what I think that's the area I'm focusing on, is how can he be a weapon in that little, 10 feet around the
perimeter
basket.
There.
The 10-foot perimeter,
10 foot perimeter, not the actual perimeter. Yeah.
I like Rudy on the actual perimeter if he's setting screens.
Yeah, sure.
And getting guys open. That's cool.
That's fine.
That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do one here.
Go ahead.
What does leveling up for Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid look like this season?
That overlaps with half of one of mine.
Yeah, I kind of
Jaden one, but go ahead.
I'll start with the Naz part, and you do the Jaden part.
Okay.
So 12 months ago, Naz Reid is coming off of winning the Sixth Man of the Year. He's the perception ascendant, right? He's on the rise. He would have been 24, 25 or whatever last year at this time. And I remember I asked Finch at the beginning of the season and a couple of times early on of what do you want from, what more do you want from Naz? What do you want from Naz this season? He was like, do it again. Because I want Naz to do what he did the season before when he won Sixth Man of the Year. Do it again.
Do it again.
Duplicate. Yeah. It was, and I asked it multiple different times, and it was it doesn't need to be more. It needs to be the same and, a natural sort of improvement there. So I'm curious now. He signed a 5-year, $125 million contract, which I think kind of prices you out of the really good sixth man role, right? And maybe the price tag has expectations for more than just do it again,
Right.
And I don't know exactly how to picture with Naz what that more is, are there added things being put on his plate of like, okay, now we're putting the ball in your hands. You're creating some, you know, like that would be a new big thing.
Yeah,
like
I think the expectation is probably more defensively than it is offensively. I
Agreed.
think I don't know what it looks like necessarily to have him level up again offensively, but I think defensively, absolutely. And one thing that they've always been on him about is rebounding, and so finding another level there. And again, this coincides maybe with the non-Rudy defensive minutes. It's finding a way to improve that, and Naz is, I think, at the forefront of that, like, because that's who teams are going to try to go after. And you know, I remember, you know, in the Lakers series, what was when they went small, you know, what was Luka trying to do? He was trying to ISO Naz. Now Naz held up pretty well. I think it was game 3 in that instance, but that would be the weak link in those lineups and in those minutes. Absolutely. So now you're making $25 million a year. You got to be a little more viable on that end of the floor, and not as maybe what's the word I want, porous defensively in those lineups. So from the contract angle, you know, obviously it's been a very tough recent offseason for Naz with the loss of his sister. Hopefully he's doing okay. So, you know, just hopefully when we see him on Monday, just in general, he's doing as well as can be expected.
I don't even know how to wrap my head around that one.
Yeah.
It's terrible, you know? And yeah, not to tie that to basketball, but that it does tie to his job. Absolutely. As you know, if you or I had a tragedy in our family, what does that look like for us professionally?
So, you know, from that end of things, you know, who knows what the early season is going to look like. It's probably going to be very emotional. We know they go to New York early in the season. They'll be in front of family in, you know, early November playing for the first time. You know, it's so, you know, just hope that he's doing okay.
Yeah. The one thing of like, what does Naz leveling up look like? He's done such an incredible job on his body in getting in great shape, obviously. But I feel like the body transformation he's gone through is a body transformation of fitness, right? Great feet, lighter on his feet, more explosive, you know, in that sort of way. I wonder if what leveling up for Naz looks like is more like strength, more like just overall like grown into his body, understanding it. Because sometimes I feel like with Naz and like the transition of what his body was, you know, he would his feet would start moving faster than, you know, balance was sometimes like an issue for him.
And
you know what I'm saying?
He would fall. Yeah.
So it's
absolutely.
just like, I think Naz is just really move into that grown man body, you know, and impose your will a little bit more on the glass, at the rim, in the post,
right? And
all those sort of
that
things.
ties into rebounding, absolutely.
Because
you might be
more
getting
force,
more force. You might be getting out strengthed on the glass by some of these guys at times. But I just think generally too, I just think the effort can be there. I you know, I think there was a moment, I want to say in game 4 of the Western Conference Finals when he didn't go after the glass hard enough. OKC gets an offensive rebound. I think they kicked it out to Jalen Williams for a 3. And that was like,
was that the game with a bunch of turnovers?
That was game 4. That was the weird game where Ant didn't really score, but Dante and Nikhil were hitting a ton of shots. And
I think Naz too, less variance in like, or keep the upside variance performance, but not the
going here. 5 minutes into the podcast. Not a good omen for the season here. But no, you're right. Being less volatile, being more consistent, bringing it on a night-to-night basis, that's a step up. That in itself, just doing what you're capable of doing more consistently is in itself making a step up, and not having these maybe more prone to like these emotional peaks, like a game doesn't go well off or whatever, you maybe don't play as much in the first half of a given game, you miss your first 3 shots, because we know last year that the contract was weighing on his mind. And he's got paid now, so hopefully, you know, like I said, from a basketball perspective, maybe his mind is a little more,
it's got
at ease
from a basketball perspective. You're locked up for 5 years,
right?
You know, at a really good, you know, really good salary there. Today's show is brought to you by Your Home Improvement Company. We know there are a chunk of you out there who are trying to get a home improvement project done this fall. We would love it if you made Your Home Improvement Company your answer to that project. Right now, they are offering buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free. That deal on triple pane windows. The windows come with a lifetime warranty and are installed by certified professionals. They also specialize in updating outdated bathrooms, and they are offering that 30% off deal on bathroom remodels. Their bathroom renovations are also done by certified local professionals and backed with that lifetime warranty. Whatever the project is, Your Home Improvement Company offers great financing deals that require 0 money down, 0 interest, and 0 payments until 2026. Wolves could be, champions by then. Contact Your Home Improvement Company by calling 866-777-YHIC or by going to yourhomeimprovementco.com. Your Home Improvement Company, where it's your home made better. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks, and with the NBA season pretty much here, I want to direct you to the NBA season-long tab at Prize Picks. Remember when we were talking, back in the summer about season-long NFL Prize Picks, more or less than 1,400 rushing yards for Saquon Barkley, or more or less than 3,700 passing yards for Josh Allen, whatever. There was a bunch of them. Well, they have that for the NBA too. The NBA ones work a little bit different. They're in terms of per game averages. So you'll see Anthony Edwards more or less than 27.5 points per game, or more or less than 11.4 rebounds per game for Cat in New York. I've had a lot of fun tracking my NFL season-long Prize Picks, and I think the NBA ones will be equally entertaining. There's always something going on over at Prize Picks. As a reminder, to put together a lineup at Prize Picks, all you need to do is put 2 or more picks in your lineup to win. If you don't yet have a Prize Picks account, all you do is put in the promo code Dane when you sign up, and you will receive $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using promo code Dane. Give me your Jaden leveling.
Yeah. So with Jaden, I was looking at some stats the other day, and every year I kind of looked at this on Cleaning the Glass. Every year the percentage of shots on which he's assisted goes down. So I just noticed every couple percentage points every season. Started at like 70% at the beginning of his career, and I think it was maybe now down to like around like 57 or something like that.
So he's self-creating
more shots for himself, specifically in the mid-range. Threes, no. Yeah. But like specifically in the mid-range, in the short mid-range area, which makes sense when you think about his game. We know that he likes to get to that, like that 10-footer that he has. So every year, it seems like we rehash this question. What is the offensive leap for Jaden McDaniels?
Yep.
Last year, we rehashed it, but I think understandably, and Finch addressed this in Britt's article, the trade kind of threw everything out the window, and that meant that Jaden's maybe expected expansion of his offensive game went to the shelf for a few months because they had to get Julius and Dante integrated. So now that there hasn't been much change, and you saw a little bit what Jaden could do in that stretch when everybody was hurt, A, and then in the playoffs a little bit, B, how do you build off of that? And how do you not just stick them back in the corner again, waiting for threes?
That quote stood out to me too. I wrote it down. Again, I'm going to reference this multiple times, and everybody go check out this Brit article. We're going to have him in tomorrow to talk about it some, but it's a great way to kind of kick off the season of getting where Finch's head is at. Yeah. Which I think helps me understand like things to even be thinking about and looking at. So Min Post, check that out from Britt. But this is what Finch said to Britt about Jaden. We definitely went into last season wanting to grow his role, but that was kind of parked. The Cat trade not only hijacked that, but then when we kind of were sputtering a little bit, it just wasn't a priority. But with Nikhil gone, there are other lineup combinations that will need some secondary playmaking. And that is where the theoretical offensive leap has always come from. Correct. For Jaden is more ball in hand, maybe get a couple more screens set from you, designs to allow him to create more. And it makes sense if you kind of go through all the different rosters of why that didn't happen before, right? Last year, you bring in Randle and DiVincenzo, who are both secondary creators themselves, were in place of Carl, who very rarely created his own offense, So the need for playmaking was down. And I guess Nikhil played like 22 minutes a night. I guess you get a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
I still don't see the huge runway for this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Neither
Like,
do I. That's what I was gonna say. Is like I'll believe it when I see it. This is just kind of where I'm at with Jaden and his offensive game.
Right.
Like I'll believe it when I see it, when they commit to it, when they're calling stuff for him, and he just doesn't have to get it out of the flow as we generally like to
And
say.
I like whenever he does get it out of the flow, right? Because it is that little 10-foot shot, and he's almost 7 feet tall, and nobody can guard it there. He's explosive and quick to the rim and get it, but it just, those seem few and far between. And it's like they never feel designed. I remember like one time doing a segment on it, and I clicked on Synergy, whatever his, I don't know, this is unassisted possessions or isolations or something, and they were all broken plays. It not all, like 80-90% of you watch it and you'd be like, well, that was not a designed isolation. You know what I'm saying?
He's got the ball with 5 seconds left in the shot clock. Here we go.
Go ahead, be tall. You know,
be tall. Shoot that 10-footer. Yep.
So the thing, I think people could go with, that's Finch's fault. You got to find a way to put the ball in Jaden's hands more. And I would go, nobody likes Jaden more than Finch.
Sure.
Nobody wants Jaden to do more than Finch.
Right.
So I'm saying if Finch hasn't been able to find this when it's, I think, been a priority for him years now, like it's maybe just hard in the concept of the offense with Ant and Julius in particular.
I think, this is also where I think increasing transition can be beneficial for him 100%. He's good in transition. I think that's where just these increased opportunities can come from, is getting out and running more will really benefit him offensively, and maybe the most of anybody in the starting lineup, just because the randomness of not randomness, but like the way just
he's such a body and game for
that. He's got the handle, he's got the body, he can finish, like
fast.
He's fast. Like you can do. He's a weapon in transition offense if you can get out and play that way.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the pathways to getting him a little more involved as well.
And maybe I think maybe the rotation is going to be different this year. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And like maybe Jaden finds himself in lineup combinations more often that are a little hungrier for that
the non-Ant minutes.
Yeah, which were oftentimes Nikhil. You know There's the Nikhil Dante Naz thing. Was all they need a new Nikhil.
Second quarter, exactly.
What if that second quarter thing is driven by Naz, Dante, and Jaden instead of Naz, Dante, and Nikhil? I think you can probably massage the rotation,
the early minutes.
Which I don't know. That's probably a question. The year, dude. What the hell is rotation? Who starts?
Listen, we have how many weeks of training camp practices to ask these questions? We can get that one answered at some point. Yeah.
Do you want to do another question?
Sure. I guess kind of tied into Jaden's offensive involvement, and I've often wondered this. There were times last season, it happened maybe 3 or 4 different times, where Finch was asked, what is the next leap for Ant to get into like the MVP conversation, right? How does he go from being all NBA to contending with Jokic and Shea and everybody for an MVP? And his answer was always the same: Ant becoming one of the best two-way players in the league. And how do you unlock Ant as a two-way force and not just a offensive force?
Yeah, because
he hasn't really been unlocked as a two-way force. You see it in glimpses, you see it with some of the on-ball defense, but it feels like he can be more impactful on the defensive end of the floor. And I think that's where I just am wondering, okay, if this is the path for Anthony Edwards to becoming an MVP, how do you get there? And what are the steps that are being taken to get him to that point? And
defense is always funny in that way to define. You know, we could talk about Jaden being more impactful on offense, and we go, okay, put the ball in his hands more. You know, let him create a little bit more. Defense is mean, I guess you could say make Ant the primary on-ball defender more, engage him more in that way. I don't think it's an X's and O's thing. I don't think it's that. It's the reason they play him on ball more, and Finch has said this at times during the season, is because it does engage Ant.
Correct.
He knows Shea's dribbling up the floor, and that's his guy. I'm ready. I got you. It's the it's the off-ball stuff where he loses some of that attention there and engagement, and then just the sharpness overall drops down. So
right.
I don't know what the answer to that could be, or maybe we get the answer to that if we want, where Ant's saying to us, this is what I'm going to do. I've noticed that I do have mental lapses on defense, and I've worked on that, and it's going to be a point of intention. And look, if it just seems like more of a point of intention from him, and that's just up 10%, we're going to give him the two-way credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If there's just more dedication to it, we're going to be understanding of the idea that he's one of the highest usage players in the league, who's driving to the basket, getting fouled, using a ton of energy on offense. I don't think our expectation for him being one of the best two-way players in the league is to play defense like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's not plausible for him to do that, and also to give what he gives on offense. And I know I do the thing of like need more from Ant all the time, but there is he's not a full-on superhero where it can be 110% on both sides of the ball all the time. But let's just not have those dips where it's a week or 2 weeks where you're like, where was Ant on defense these 2 weeks? And okay, I know you're retired. It's the middle of the season, you're traveling, whatever. But yeah, he's not a two-way superstar yet.
No,
he is an offensive superstar who is situationally really good at defense.
Yep.
And getting to that. Yeah, that probably is the next leap for Ant defensively. What about offensively? For Biden's mid-range thing,
I saw the Shams report. I've heard, the things, and it's like, I'm going into it with a little bit of trepidation. The whole mid-range thing, I'm going into a little bit of trepidation just because he has not been efficient from that spot on the floor. I recognize that he probably needs and does need to develop that as a weapon. And in order to become kind of a as multi-dimensional of an offensive threat as you possibly can be on offense. Having everything in your bag is how you become a legend, right? So I understand that. I
get the pursuit of it.
I don't think
it was a bad idea to work.
It's not. No, it's not. And it's always kind of been a little bit of a tug of, between earlier in his career that he would want to work more on the mid-range. The team would be like, maybe not so much in the mid-range. Maybe shoot more threes, get to the rim a little more, work on your finishing, work on your threes, and then maybe work on the mid-range a little bit. I do think there's a benefit to it. I absolutely do. I can see it in late game situations. I could see it in the series against the Thunder. I absolutely see a benefit to it. I just wonder how long is that process going to take? Yeah. I don't know that okay, he just worked on the mid-range all summer. All of a sudden he's going to come out and shoot 48% from the mid-range. I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Well, and here's the thing too. The numbers matter here. Like the stats of efficiency in basketball I'll do this sometimes for an episode. I'll pull the actual numbers, but if you look at 2005, Kobe, whatever, that time, the league average offense, or even the number one offense, the efficiency, the points per possession that team was generating in 2005 is so much lower
now
than it is today. Yeah. And it is in the aggregate, shooting more threes and doing that increases your offensive efficiency. And if Ant gets into the post or gets into the mid-range and is a fadeaway guy and is even making 50% of those, making 50% of his fadeaways. He's awesome.
If you told me that, that'd be great, right?
Sure. But let's also think about the numbers here. That's 1 point per possession.
Right.
That's 1 point per possession.
Right.
an Ant transition possession, what is that? That's way over 1 point per possession.
Correct.
What is an Ant 3-point shot? Well, last year it was 40%, so that's 1.2 points per possession.
Yep.
There is a decrease in the value of the mid-range, even of the best mid-range players in the league. If he's shooting 50%, take
right?
him,
You're
but
saying
it's not,
even if he comes out and starts shooting 50%,
it's still
it's
not as good of a
still
shot
not
as
as
the
good of a
40%
shot as-
3-point shot. It's
or-
the same as a
or
33%
getting to the rim
three.
or getting fouled,
Yes.
which he's an 83% free throw shooter or something
Sure.
like that. Yeah.
It's
So
it needs to be like this additive optimally. It's this
Yeah.
like additive situational thing later in the shot clock. Okay, we could pivot into it. Ant seals in the post, catch, dribble, fade, shoot it. That's better than somebody
Yeah.
just tumbling down the lane and throwing something up, you know?
I guess I'm just curious. This is maybe more a question for Ant than it is for Finch. Just how is he going to deploy it? How is it going to be used? Are we going to be like in the second quarter and Ant's posting guys up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or is this just going to be exclusively a fourth quarter kind of thing?
Yeah.
And maybe if he finds, I'll say this, if he finds like the right matchup, like if it's the first quarter, second quarter game, and he finds himself in the right matchup and he's got a move or post moves to go to, I would love to see that. I would love to see what that looks like at that point and seeing how teams would then have to guard him in that area of the floor.
Right.
So if he can become respectable at it, I think it can open some things up offensively for the rest of the team and for himself. But if we're just talking about just I guess I'm more interested in the post-up game than the mid-range game.
I agree
than
with that.
just shooting a higher volume of mid-range shots. I'm curious to see what he can do in the post or in a post-up situation, as opposed to just trying to get to the mid-range, not go to the rim, not take the three, but stop at 15 feet and take the shot.
Right.
I'm more curious at the post-up game.
Yeah, I want to see him like overpower people there.
Yeah,
at
use
times.
his strength. You are strong, you are quick, and not a lot of people can guard that combination. So what are you going to do in that 8-foot area to maximize your potential?
I'll also add in the pro mid-range thing is it's just a way to get him touches.
Sure.
When teams are putting 2 on the ball, you know, as we saw throughout the playoffs, and he just had to consistently be like, okay, there's 2 on the ball, I got to swing it, or I got to hit Rudy on the short roll. And then if they're blitzing that, then Ant can be 8-10 possessions where Ant isn't really getting a rhythm possession of a designed high pick and roll, right? Because they put 2 on him, he's got to get off of it. All right. And then it just ends up being that for a while and Ant's not involved. I feel like in the Oklahoma City series at times it was like, well, can we get Ant the ball?
Yeah.
You know, because they're just taking it out of his
taking the
hands.
ball out of his hands. Yeah.
You can almost always get the ball in the post. You
Correct.
know, I mean, if he gets really good at it, maybe some teams will try and front him and deny that or whatever. But if it's that stretch of time where they're doubling him up top and they're forcing it out of his hands and pick and roll, which is forcing the ball to Rudy on the short roll, which we think is improved, but we still don't love. Let's go away from that for a little bit. Let's get a Ant in the post, even in the like elbow extended sort of area. Because maybe then that possession is more valuable than in the aggregate than giving it to Rudy on the short roll. You know?
I guess I'm more excited at that prospect than him coming off of a screen and roll, seeing he doesn't have room to get the 3 off. They're guarding him at the rim, and he just pulls up from 15, 16 feet and takes the mid-range on a regular basis. I'd like to see what he has skill-wise in those scenarios instead. And if the defense does if he does draw the attention in that area, I just think it could open up a lot around the perimeter too. And you've got shooters that can knock that down. So yeah.
It's not like a tiny needle to thread. It's just something that needs to be thread. And if not, you're going to get poked, you know,
correct.
like it's there. And I do think that'll probably be a process, but you know, to Ant's credit, it came in right away day one last year after saying, I'm going to work on my 3-ball and movement shooting and all those sort of things. And it was there, boom, day one at a significantly higher level than it was a season ago. Ant shot 39% from mid-range last year. I would bet if he put in intention and work to that this summer, that it will be higher than that.
Correct.
Maybe significantly.
And this is one of the things that has been great about his career and great about him is that when he dedicates himself in an off season to doing something, he generally accomplishes it and gets better at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that has been a hallmark of his 5 years so far.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly expecting a lot of improvement in these areas from him because he is so dedicated and so determined. I just want to see the ripple effects.
Yeah, probably some growing pains.
Yeah. Especially early in the season. Like is he coming out and taking a whole bunch of mid-range early in the season, like he took a whole bunch of threes in the early part of last season, because that's what he worked on over the summer, and he's going to show people that he's better at it. So
that's why the first preseason game will be interesting,
right?
You know, like first couple, like we're doing that, okay? You know, like,
what did he take like the first week from three? Like it was double-digit attempts every night, the first like 7 or 8 games or something like
awesome.
that. Yeah,
it was really
now
really
picture that, but mid-range shots.
Right. No, that's
We'll
obviously
see.
that's going to be worth tracking, and he's going to definitely talk about that at Media Day too. Today's show is brought to you by Skims. Skims, you obviously have maybe heard about more from the women's clothing space, but they have really expanded their product to the men's side of things, specifically men's underwear. And I've said this before, but my favorite thing about Skims is that it's a type of boxer brief that both works for going to the gym and just for everyday life. I have the stretch 5-inch boxer briefs, and they work functionally like compression shorts. I would wear it back in the day when I played basketball or when I'd go on runs, but they're just significantly more comfortable. And that is what's unique about them. You can wear one pair to the gym and another pair after the gym when you're just hanging out at home. Like I said, 5-inch stretch boxer briefs are my personal favorite, but they also have cotton briefs amongst other styles. I think you should try and find a pair that works for you because you're going to like them. Be more comfortable. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com and Skims stores. And please let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Today's show is also brought to you by BetterHelp. We've all done it before, you know, talking to our bartender or our barber or some random stranger for life advice just because we want to talk. And as fun as they may be to talk with about everyday topics, when you're looking for actual help about relationships, anxiety, depression, or other clinical issues, those people probably don't have all the right answers. Instead, get guidance from a credentialed therapist online with BetterHelp. BetterHelp is flexible. It's completely online, and you can pause your subscription whenever you need to and switch therapists at any time at no extra cost. And they're going to help you find the right match. BetterHelp has over 30,000 licensed therapists, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional cost. It is easy and effective. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/DaneMoore. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DaneMoore. Next one I have is, what is the actual internal concern with the point guard position? You know, we make a big deal of that. And we look at the depth chart,
right?
And it's thin. You know, it's thin at the point guard, traditional point guard spot there. But I'm curious is it a concern that they have with depth, or is it a concern they have with quality of play from that position? Because I don't think it's depth.
I don't think it's a depth problem. No, I don't think so.
Even though it's
either.
just Rob and Mike, because they're like,
Right.
we'll just mix in Dante and Julius and Ant as that,
right.
As creators. Finch said in the article, we now have so much more depth at the 1, 2, and 3 on the perimeter. So this was him talking about Naz. He goes, so if you put Naz at the 3 consistently, who are you dropping from the rotation because you can't play everybody?
Right.
That to me signals Finch is still like, we got a lot of guards. We got a lot of guards that we want to play.
Well, Chris Finch doesn't just disregard Mike Conley, like as many on social media might want to do at this point in his career.
Yeah.
But Mike Conley, healthy, is still going to be a significant contributor to this team.
Number one question I get from people and stuff is like, is Mike going to start? Is Mike going to play?
Well, here's the thing. Play? Look at their best lineups last year by net rating, and Mike Conley was a part of almost all of those lineups.
Check that out in the Western Conference Finals too.
Yeah.
You know.
By net rating, having Mike Conley on the floor was better for this team than not having him on the floor. That's just a fact.
Absolutely. And I normally play that side of the argument because that's more where I lean. I do hear the other side of it of like somebody else to go and create and do those things.
And I get that.
And Mike isn't giving you
and
that.
I get that. You got to be looking out for the future too. I get all this, but Mike's still going to be playing 20 to 25 minutes a night, probably starting. I'm actually curious, like, okay, do they stick to here's one way in which maybe you can satisfy both ends of the spectrum, keeping Mike healthy, giving Rob a little more leeway, we saw last year that sometimes Mike Conley would take back-to-backs off. He didn't do it all the time. It would only be kind of occasionally. But this year, do you come into the season and say, hey, Mike, anytime there's a back-to-back, you're not playing one end of it. And then those are the nights that Rob just gets low
25 plus,
right? Yes,
minutes
exactly.
in that game.
And so those are the nights that Rob gets to really go for it, right? And that way you keep Mike healthy, you give Rob a little more of a runway. And so how many back-to-backs do they have? Maybe like 13, 14. Yeah. So it's a significant chunk of the season that you can do that with. So I wonder, is that maybe late in the season, if you need to win games, this and that, maybe that changes. But going into the season, anytime there's a back-to-back, if I were the team, I'd be looking like, Mike, take one of these off. Rob's going to play 30 minutes on these nights.
Yeah, no, I get that, because the optimal thing, given the roster that they have right now, is Mike gives you a steady Eddie piece. Your numbers are good when he's on the floor. He's involving people. He knows where to be, and he shoots it at a really high level. No, he is not breaking down defenders. He's not like the Andrew Nemhard to Tyrese Halliburton's Anthony Edwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Mike is never going to be that, but Rob could be that. That's the ideal version. So you get Mike, the traditional point guard, plus you get Rob to be the creation guy. Like that is, given how little you have explicitly dedicated to the position from a financial standpoint, at least, Mike and Rob don't make much money. Like, that would be a big win. And I don't think you would have, if you just Rob's getting his opportunities and he's creating effectively without turning the ball over. And then in the other 24 minutes, Mike's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Like that. I think that's the
and by the way,
situation.
Maybe put them on the floor together once in a while and see what you get to, because they can be a little different stylistically at this point in their careers.
And maybe you want to test out lineup set of neither of them out there too. Dante at the one.
Yeah.
Those type of things.
I mean, Dante did start for
7 games.
How many
or whatever
games that was before he got hurt? Yeah,
it was good, and he was really good.
Yeah.
How many more you got? You got another one?
Well, I did have a Mike point guard note, so that ate up one of mine.
That's right.
I just had a general thought on transition.
Yep.
And just getting out in transition. Can they do it? Is this team capable of doing it? They say they want to do it more. We know the advantages offensively. Just the numbers bear it out. When you're in transition versus half court, it's so much more advantageous offensively. But can this team actually do that, especially the starting lineup or presumed starting lineup? We know that when Terrence Shannon is on the floor, that's probably going to be the fastest version of the Timberwolves. But Terrence Shannon's not going to be on the floor maybe half the time, right? Best case scenario, Terrence Shannon is playing 20 to 25 minutes or whatever.
At most,
right? What does it look like?
Why does Terrence Shannon Jr. get out in transition? Because he can.
He's intentional about it too.
So I think a lot of people, when they talk about incorporating transition, they look at what is slow on the Wolves. Mike Conley is slow. Rudy Gobert is a 7'2" center and is not your typical.
You don't think of Julius Randle as a transition player either,
but he could be.
There's no
reason
right? Exactly.
That's can't be a transition player. And Anthony Edwards. I think they lead the charge 100%. Of transition in tandem. Do it together. And I think if the theory is right that Terrence Shannon Jr. is on the floor, and when Terrence Shannon Jr. is on the floor, the team plays in transition more. It's because he's chosen to lead the break or run and do it consistently. If Julius and Ant have even half that mindset, the team's going to play faster, because those are got Julius. How many times, like honestly, total times did Julius Randle grab a defensive rebound, and lead the break. 25, 40, maybe over the entirety. It was not even once a game that happened. That should happen multiple times a game.
Yeah.
Just to even, and it doesn't even, this isn't Julius specific, but in general, you can get out into transition, get into the half court and pull back. It's not there. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's Mike? There's still 17 seconds on the shot clock because we ran down here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now let's set it up. Okay, here's a pick and roll. Here's that. It's just try to get up there a little bit more and don't become addicted to it. Don't let it totally throw off your whole offense, but intention. I just think transition is so much about intention. But to the what are we asking? It's asking Finch, it's asking Mike, it's asking Ant. What does it look like
when we
to
play
get you
faster?
to do that?
Yeah.
You know, what makes you not do that? You know, why wasn't it there as much?
Well, I looked this up too, and I don't really trust the stats sometimes from NBA.com because I'll be watching games, be like, oh, that looks like fast break points. Then I look down and it's not fast break points on the score sheet. But they were 9th in turnover, turning other teams over last year, and only 26th in fast break points in the regular season.
They were really good at that 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
The number one defensive season, they were getting points off of that.
Yeah. So 9th in turning teams over, 26 in fast break points. That just doesn't make much sense, right?
No, there is a mental error happening in there for there to be that big of a distinction.
So, and then I think about it in terms of the Jaden discussion that we had before, which is Jaden can be a weapon in transition. But here's the other thing about Jaden. He had a career best rebounding year last year too. Yeah. So if you need Jaden on the glass, and he was good at it, especially the second half of last season, he really upped his rebounding for the first time in his career, and they needed it. Right. What's the balance there? Is Jaden crashing? Is Jaden part of the reason why you're getting a rebound, or are you trying to get the rebound and get him out in transition? You got to get the ball first.
That doesn't need to be the priority.
Teams over.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to lose that, which sometimes this team, I mean, for the last 3-4 years, even with Rudy, there'd just be these times where you're like, wait, you gave up that many offensive rebounds?
Right.
You know, like sometimes defensive rebounding has been an issue with this team. So that does need to be the priority. Ending the possession is more important than getting out in transition.
Absolutely.
The other way.
Because they get burned when they allow second. That's honestly like one of the ways in which this team isn't sometimes an elite defense is when they allow the second shots. I mean, how many times last year did we hear Finch say, we're great on the first shot. We're great great at stopping teams on that first shot, but sometimes we just allow the rebound, and the next thing you know, swing three, and all of a sudden you're down 4 with 30 seconds left. Yeah.
Last one I have is duplicating Randle's end of season play. What will be required to get the Julius Randle that you got for the final 20 games of the regular season, which was awesome, and the Julius Randle you got in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs? That was awesome. Has that downloaded, you know what I mean, into the whole group of like, this is how we do it. This is how we get the best Julius. I know we all know what it looks like when you have the best Julius Randle, but what are the elements that need to be downloaded to understand, how to get Julius in his best positions, and how does Julius find that balance that took him the first 60 games of the season to be both a scorer and a passer, which, as Finch would hand up say, I was yanking him around, right? Through both of those things. Do you feel like you understand what it takes to duplicate Julius Randle's end of season play? And if so, what is that? I think
I'm a little more optimistic on that front, just because when the chips were down in 2 rounds of the playoffs, he found it. They found it as a team. So
I think it's likely.
That he comes in, and if there's anybody that I'm confident, aside from like Ant continuing to shoot really high numbers from threes, if there's anybody that I'm confident in just kind of picking up where he left off from last year, it's Julius Randle. Yep. I feel like what he did in the playoffs, the first 2 rounds, was very repeatable on a night-to-night basis. They found a lot of stuff. just the way he could take advantage of mismatches, playing off of the attention Ant gets because they can't really double him. Because if they start doubling him, then you're leaving Anthony Edwards open potentially. Or if teams start to do that, then that's great for Ant. Great news for Ant. And we know Julius is a capable passer out of that. So yeah, I feel pretty good about where he's at, where they're at with him coming into this season. Listen, when we talk about like Julius Randle and we talk about the Wolves just overall, I think as a team, I think it's important to keep in mind, and you and Jace were kind of touching on this the other day. There's really one team right now that they just can't really solve. Other than that, the rest of the league, I mean, we could put Denver above them. You could say,
but they're not unsolvable. Denver isn't unsolvable.
Denver isn't unsolvable, and this team, yes, Denver's different now, but they beat them 4 times last year. They're not afraid of Nikola Jokic. I think of this specifically with Julius Randle. The way that they were employing Julius Randle, the way that they played those 2 series against the Lakers and a good Warriors defense, even without Steph, that is repeatable on a night-to-night basis throughout the regular season. They're going to be fine, assuming health, fine during the regular season. It's just that one team right now that's staring them in the face, and I don't know that there's any team that can solve that can solve the Thunder at this point. So, what do you live with? How much do you rearrange what you're trying to do in the regular season because you have one team that's in your way?
That's age-old question,
right? Right. Because you maybe have that one team that you have to solve, or do you just try to work on the best version of yourself? And when you get to the playoffs,
see, I would think the answer is the latter, and focusing on yourself. But the Rudy thing, it's like that's the complicating portion of it. Is I don't feel like he can as effectively be involved, or Julie. I mean, maybe Rudy isn't the biggest thing. I have concerns about Julius in particular being able to be not even the best version of himself, a solid version of himself against that team.
Yeah,
because his game is dribbling at you and through you. And the
Thunder have guys that will put up a wall against you,
and they'll follow you, as Finch will tell you.
Yes,
but like that's what it is.
Yeah.
They are not going to Jalen Williams or Alex Caruso or whatever is not going to just let Julius baby him the way that the Warriors got babied and the Lakers did. In that way. So I don't know. I get the question. I brought it up, and we're going to talk about it over the course of the year. I do think it's okay to focus on the now,
sure,
and leave that to build that plane over the course of the season. Don't lose sight of it. Don't forget that that's probably ultimately your, final boss that you gotta take care of. You gotta be designing a style of play that can do that. But I also don't know if it's good business to overly obsess.
I don't
on
think
one
it is either.
playoff series,
one opponent. And an opponent that, let's face it, okay, they have a window now. We know how topsy-turvy the NBA can be, how what's the word I want? Cyclical things can be, so obsessing about one opponent, one team is generally probably, like you said, not good for business overall, because who knows who that team is going to be tomorrow.
Right. Let's not crown the Thunder right now. It was
Denver 2 years ago.
Yeah, man. I mean,
it's Oklahoma City now, but
I got tons of respect for Oklahoma City, but like, what are we doing putting any team like in the finals right away in September? Like that is not, there is so much variance. They have players who have gotten injured, and I know you don't want to bank on it, whatever, but like,
but they even had 2 series last year where they had to go 7 games. It's not like they
played like 100 games. They played over 100 games last year.
Steamrolled to the title either.
Yeah.
They were a bad matchup for you at that moment. But
what if Julius has been a late season Julius for 80 games? If he would have been all last season been the Julius you got for the last 20 games, I feel like he's more prepared for that Oklahoma City. You know
I
what I'm
think
saying?
you're right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying is like lean into just what you're good at. Don't worry about like, oh, this is great in December.
Mhm.
But when we play the Thunder in round 2 or round 3 of the playoffs, can I do this? Like
Right.
you can't be going through the season. And I don't think the fan base should be going through the season of just looking at this through the lens of can we now beat the Thunder?
Yep.
I think that's the wrong approach to take. And I think with Julius specifically, because he struggled so much in that series against the Thunder, I think you can't be looking at him and his season through that lens, which I feel like we get maybe a little too caught up in sometimes. So that's in Ant 2 for that matter. You know, and that's why with some of the stuff that Ant's working on in the off season, okay, is this just you trying to become a better player, or is this a direct result of what happened in the Western Conference Finals? And maybe is that misguided if it's the latter, right?
I think people go like, well, look at the Chicago Bulls. Like that's what they did. Did you watch like The Last Dance? And that was all their focus. And you know, I don't think in 1995 in September, that's what they were doing. In like the macro zoomed out 20, 30 years later, it's like they had to get over Detroit. You know,
by the way, it took them 3 years to get over Detroit, by the way, or 3 or 4 years, whatever that was. Yeah.
So it's one of those that like in history, you'll look back and it was as he will with, oh yeah, Denver looked like this wall for the Wolves. And then they broke through it, you know, but I don't know. Maybe I guess you could say they built a team exactly to beat that Denver team by getting Rudy. So I don't know. Maybe I'm done. My last Julius Randle thing, I want to ask you this because me and Kyle do like a bold predictions.
Kyle makes bold predictions.
No, we do a bold predictions pod in preseason at some point. And I'm wondering if Julius Randle makes the All-Star team is bold enough. Do you think that's that bold?
That's really bold.
You think? I don't think it's really bold. I don't. I really don't.
Think of how loaded the Western Conference is, though.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's 50%.
Okay. Let's go through it. How many? 12 guys on the All-Star team, right?
Yeah, I probably should have done this. You
assume that Ant is going to be one.
Yeah.
Jokic, Shea.
Okay.
LeBron, Luka. So right there, we're at 5, right? Yeah. Steph.
Yeah.
Did I say KD?
Yeah, I was going to say KD.
So 7.
Yeah.
So we're at 7. Who am I missing?
Okay, we got Houston, Denver, we got Minnesota, Lakers. You said LeBron, Luka.
Yeah, I said LeBron.
Clippers. A Clippers player could make
Clippers, Kawhi, maybe.
No.
What about Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
Assuming health.
Yeah, no, you're
like it's tough. It's going to be tough in the Western Conference to make.
I think
just given the name brand recognition that exists in the Western Conference.
Is it crazy to think that come the All-Star break, the Wolves could be the 2 seed in the Western Conference? 1 or 2.
No, it's not. No, and you're right.
And if they are the 2 seed, will they get a
team
second?
Can get a second person in. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess we need to define what bold is, but
you're not wrong. But like also like, does Jalen Williams get in for the Thunder? Like if they're going to be at the top of the standings, right?
Well, yeah.
What kind of season is Jamal Murray having? Like that sort of stuff. If Denver's really good.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't. I'd be curious. I bet you they do odds on that. What players that odds to make the playoffs? I'd be curious to look that up for Randall,
I think that's too bold. I think it's too bold.
Okay, so I could use it for I could use it for the bold prediction.
I think that is a bold prediction. Yes.
I'm still honing it. What are you working on
right now?
Yeah,
nothing.
You're just ready
ready for training camp. We'll see what happens, and develop some stories throughout training camp. But right now I was just taking some time off, seeing family, seeing friends, getting my mind right, all that good stuff. I'm doing a lot of fantasy football drafts and worrying about my teams. Heard you yesterday. Sounds like you were going through it a little bit yesterday.
I am 3-0.
You were, but you lost.
But I lost
James
Burrow
Conner and Joe Burrow. Yeah.
Tony Pollard's going to need to step up.
Benson?
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, and now it's like trading for him.
Was it Fab free agent budget?
No, he was on a roster. He was on another roster, which I was like kind of looking at that roster. Like, oh, you got Trey Benson. Like, let me.
So we did a salary cap draft, and I got Connor And I was sitting there, I had like $2 left, or like $2 was my max bid.
So you did the 2 hour.
And somebody put Tucker Kraft up, and I was like, oh, I want to go $2, but I really need Trey Benson. I got to have Trey Benson to back up.
And you got him?
So eventually somebody did put up Trey Benson. I had to go the $2 to get him. So I was glad I saved my $2.
Yeah.
To get
Tucker Kraft is nice.
So
too, but
I ended up with Kyle Pitts for
that's
$1,
solid.
for $1.
Yeah.
For $1, it was solid.
Yeah.
But 3-0 though. Congrats, my friend.
Yeah, but it's like one of those where I'm looking, I'm the only team that's 3-0. And I'm looking and I'm like, I don't even have a top. I'm in the bottom half of the league. Like, it's like looking at my team.
I don't think my
like,
team's that good.
This is so mediocre. This is so mediocre.
Hey, listen, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Make some moves. The delicate trade winds of fantasy football, the wild swings week to week, and how guys are valued, or how, like, look at Omarion Hampton, for instance.
True.
A week ago, Omarion Hampton was looking like a bust. Now,
RB1.
RB1
Yeah.
in 1 week. That's all it took.
Oh no, and I totally do that too. Right?
Yeah,
I'm just,
yeah.
Javonte Williams. He's it. I don't know.
It's gonna be a savior for my team. 3 weeks later, oh no.
So you've been focusing on your fantasy football team. Me too.
It was a long year, Dane. It was a long year plus. So I needed some time off.
But this has been like the most break. I feel like, the last kind of like 2 months, I feel like we've gotten in the 8-9 years we've been doing this. It's I'm feeling good for the season.
Well, recently, yes. I mean, the last couple of years for sure. Just
nothing's happened since summer.
It's been fine.
Yeah, right. It's great. I'm saying it's good. It's like I'm feeling. I was actually thinking that when I was
writing a book this summer, it was fantastic.
Yeah. You better win your fantasy. No, I think when I was reading Britt's thing, which again I'll plug again here, and we'll talk about tomorrow. I think you would echo this too. Once you start getting like these inputs from them, Finch, Conley, the players and stuff like that, that's like caffeine to my, digging into this team.
That's what sparks the idea.
And now I got all these quotes written down from Finch, and Monday is going to be too many, like 7 hours of quotes
Sensory
from players.
overload,
But it's good. Like, and we did like 5 big picture questions yesterday with Jason. Now we're doing 5 media day questions with Chris. Like, I know things are a little thin right now, but it's coming.
We need content.
Yeah, no, but I'm excited. And I think like we said, it's nothing super crazy we need to figure out in this incorporating Rudy or, Jimmy or what. Those things are not there. This team it's like very much the behavior of a team who has gone far in the playoffs for a couple of years, hasn't broken through, and is ready, like rearing to try to bust through that door, and it's going to be a hell of a task to do so, but it's firmly in the realm of possibilities, and it's going to be all in this minutia that we're talking about.
It is.
How many of those things go green? Finch had a great quote in that thing too. He listed like 5 or 6 things. He goes, if we do 75% of these things, we are a significantly better team.
Yeah.
And I think that, everyone makes fun of this pod for being in the weeds. And I say, it's really hard to do like 6 hours of podcasting a week. but I think the answers for this team this season are going to be in the weeds. It's going to be in that minutia, and like,
it's in the internal growth. It's in the it's in the margins, the efficiencies and inefficiencies that they need to correct. But this is kind of the year of internal growth. It is the year of, does Ant take at all levels of the roster?
Sure.
Does Ant take a step up? Does Naz Reid become more consistent? Does Jaden McDaniels become more of a consistent offensive threat? And then down the roster, do the young guys step up and grab a role or grab permanent minutes? Do they play well enough to not just be in the mix, but to be like, Chris Finch cannot take me off the floor like what Naz did 3 years ago. Chris Finch cannot afford to take me off the floor. I'm that good now.
Right.
Who steps up? I think a lot of people
Terry
think
Shannon
Jr. is that guy, but can they all do that? And that would just be a great problem to have. But yeah.
No, and those are the stories you're going to write and the things we're going to learn over the next, few weeks, months, and
a couple ideas for some personality profiles. We'll see if we can pull those off. But
sweet.
We'll see how that.
Those are the best and unique. And
yeah.
And speaking of behind Chris. You will now the shot is on me, so you will not see it. But the Ant book, if you're getting hyped up for basketball season, we got 3-4 weeks here. Get that Ant book, and that's
right.
something to read here over the next 3-4 weeks too. I appreciate you coming in here. As I said with Jace yesterday, the plan is going to again be to have Chris join me on like Wednesdays this year. We got to navigate a little bit with travel, but we're excited to do some post-game pods.
Yep.
This year, you and I after game, you and I are a little bit more night owls. We don't mind coming here after a game and doing a podcast. And then at times when we're on the road, we'll do some pods, after games there as well. So I'm looking forward to another season with you, my man.
It'll be great.
He's Chris Hine. Next up is Britt. Tomorrow we will do that episode. Until then, he's Chris. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah. Don't let standards ever bring you down, yeah.